It's a multi-layered issue, and we can't group the homeless into one, into sort of one container and say, this is the homeless, and therefore we're going to apply one solution to all of them.
LA County's one solution is to attempt to build enough structures to shelter those without shelter.
Most programs, like you build a prison, that's not intended to go back to the community. That's intended to be out of sight, away from the community. You build a large mental hospital. That's not intended to get you back in the community. It's intended to stay out of sight. You build a board and care. You build a homeless assistance program. And as long as you're stuck in the middle of this river, everyone's just getting bashed and there's no chance for anybody to get recovered, and the whole thing just gets overwhelmed, and then everyone loses their humanity.
Everything's moving now toward what they call housing first. Which is, hey, all homeless people need is a house. So let me tell you how that has worked out on a micro level. I get calls monthly from affordable housing providers who say, hey, we're a mixed use building, so that means they have low income people and they have formerly homeless people. The low income people do great, but a lot of the folks that were chronically homeless that come in, they're either sleeping in the courtyard in their tent, or they've been ripped out of the community and away from the friends the only friends that they had, so they're back on the streets. I've had people who are suicidal because they're in this stark white apartment and it's too kind of nice and they feel the pressure of trying to keep it up. They've never had to do that before. So it's not as easy as just saying, if we just transport people into four walls, we'll solve homelessness.
Right. Too much regulation is an obstacle here as well. As with any economically robust city, jobs continuously move in, far outpacing the growth of real estate. This, coupled with constant subsidies for affordable housing without an equal increase in supply, continuously forces the prices up. We've created a scenario now where there's a massive increase in people and money, but a lack of building. Adding to the money supply just seems to make things less affordable. Housing is just one obstacle. To pool all resources into this alone is applying a macro solution to a broad array of micro scenarios. The issues of disenfranchised individuals throughout a developed city need to be dealt with case by case, and the solutions for the struggles of one individual are much different from that of another.
You have homeless youth, you have homeless families, you have homeless single dads, homeless single moms, you have the chronically, ill, you have the chronically mentally ill. There's a whole, just as they're, my next door neighbors, just because they live in my neighborhood, they're nothing like me.
I live in a tent and it's not a home.
Anytime that there's a complicated issue and anyone says there's one solution, I start getting a little worried, a lot worried.
Proclaiming you can solve homelessness in 10 years with housing alone is like saying you're going to solve obesity in 10 years with gym memberships for everyone that's overweight, or we can solve the healthcare crisis in 10 years, or the opioid crisis, or domestic abuse. All consumer protection issues will disappear in 10 years, and we can solve all mental health issues. It's almost like saying you can solve the game of chess with a fixed number of moves. Now, like solving the homeless crisis, this would work too, if every opponent you ever played made the exact move you need them to make at every single turn, at every single game.
What you have to do is take it down on this real micro level. So let's just take one homeless person. Let's just say with one homeless person that we pour a ton of resources into that one person. Will their problems be fixed? Not necessarily. Depends on the problem.
Think of it like a broken dam that is flooding a town. To focus all your energy on housing and very little toward the circumstances that put individuals in a state of chronic homelessness would be like constantly pumping the water out of the town with minimal effort to fix the dam. Now, an evenly distributed amount of energy in both projects, fixing the dam and pumping the water, would be useful. But if you could only pick one, Would the best solution be to continuously pump water out of the areas that are flooded? Or would it be better to direct all your effort toward repairing the dam?
We need to save people who are drowning in the river, and we need to find out why they're getting in the river in the first place. Sometimes they're being pushed in, sometimes they're jumping in, sometimes they slipped and fell in the river. It doesn't matter to me why they're in the river. I just want to know why they're in the river, and I want to go upstream and go, listen, let's take care of whatever's getting you to this place. And I think we need to stop judging why they get in the river.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
We've all made mistakes. Some of us end up in the drowning in the river, and some of us don't. And that's again where that compassion piece comes in.
But one of the problems with policies is they have unintended side effects. Similar example: Social Security. There's different rates for where you're living. So if you live somewhere, you get into California $806 a month. If you're on the streets, you get $980 because it costs more to live on the streets. You can't cook and stuff. If you have no kitchen, you get a little more. Therefore, if you're sitting on the streets, homeless, and getting your $980 check, and you're ready to move into an apartment, the first thing that happens is we lower your check by $120 as a punishment for moving into your own place.
De-incentivizing.
Right, that wasn't the intention, of course. So policies, you have to watch out for, where the intention is often a quite good thing, but when you're at that macro level, rather than helping one person at a time, there's likely to be, the higher up you go, the more unintended side effects or unintended bad things that happen that you never considered at all.
So we're a program. We're not a retreat center. We're not a hotel. We don't have apartments here. We have a program. And when families say, hey, we're just frustrated because we want more space, we go, exactly. And that's why you're saving your money, and that's why you're working so hard, so you can get your own apartment. So.
And there is a term here.
There is.
And it's...
Yeah, I mean, right now at our current shelter, it's 90 to 120 days.
Okay.
Here it will be probably 9 to 10 months.
9 to 10 months.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it really depends on, again, part of our accountability is, are you making progress? And
right.
It can be an inch of progress, or it can be a foot, or it can be a mile. But if you're stagnant or you're moving backwards, then that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Then we need to figure out what's either keeping you stuck or keeping you from moving forward. And again, that's what our staff does, is identify the barriers and help people overcome them.